Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Last night, April 4th, 2016, Villanova defeated University of North Carolina in the 78th edition of the Men's College Basketball Tournament. It ended with a buzzer beater, meaning the winning score went in as the time ran out on the game clock. It was the first time a game ended this way in the men's championship since 1983, 33 years ago. And what's interesting is in 83, North Carolina State defeated Houston with this buzzer beater. Last night, the University of North Carolina went down on a buzzer beater in Houston, in NRG Stadium, also where the Carolina Panthers once lost in Super Bowl 38. If you haven't seen any of my videos thus far, I did a pre-tournament preview video showing why I thought University of North Carolina would win the tournament. In that preview video, I talked about the Philadelphia train wreck of last year, May 12th, 2015, how that was connected to the NBA Finals and the Golden State Warriors winning last season, originally from Philadelphia, Villanova with the Philadelphia connections. I also talked about how the Kansas train wreck the day before the tournament began was connected to the Philadelphia train wreck last year as well as this men's tournament. And then lo and behold, we get another Philadelphia train wreck the day before the championship, also connected to what happened last night. We're going to go through all this and more. I learned a ton from watching the game. I want to share what I learned with you. Before we get into my findings, let's just watch the mainstream coverage about the exciting finish. We'll start right here, Truth Seeker.
Villanova and North Carolina playing arguably the greatest college basketball national championship game ever. The finish was unbelievable. Michael Jordan was on hand to cheer on his Tar Heels. They were down 3, under 10 seconds to go when senior Marcus Page hits an unbelievable shot to tie the game. Now Villanova had 4 seconds left on the clock. They got the ball up the court, and Chris Jenkins knocks it down at the buzzer. That shot will go down as one of the best game winners in basketball.
So the man who hit the game winner, Chris Jenkins, he has a brother that also plays on North Carolina, the team he defeated. And supposedly he was adopted by the family, the Britt family. What's interesting to think about is Villanova's near Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. And here a brother hits the game winner, defeating another brother. You know? Interesting.
Ball history, Villanova pulls off the upset 77-74 to win their first championship since 1985. Chris, tell me about what was going through your head when that ball came out of your hands.
You know, every time I catch the shoot, and I'm fortunate enough to get a shot off, I think they're all going in. So when Ryan Archidiakono found me on that shot, that shot was no different. I 1-2 step and let it go.
What are you thinking right now? Can you believe what just happened?
I just want to meet Charles Barker. All those guys up there picked against us, so I just want to say hello.
No one was rattled. Nobody was broke. We said, we got 4.7 seconds left. Let's go make a play. Ryan had the ball, made the right play. Chris was able to hit the shot.
Chris Jenkins was already a really nice story this week as he was basically adopted by the family of a North Carolina player. Now, he will forever go down as one of the legends of college basketball. In Houston, at the national championship game, Andy Scholes.
So there it was. The brother wins it for the city of brotherly love. If you haven't seen the highlight, let's just check it out real quick. I'm not sure if they're going to show Chris Jenkins' shot, but they're going to show up the shot from North Carolina that tied the game at 74-74 with 4.7 left. Let's watch this, and then I want to talk about this shot. Did you see how? Let's just watch it one more time. The shot clock is off the screen, but you can see the game clock here. If you see the clock on top of the board, it's actually slightly different than here right now. It's at 4.9 seconds. I assure you, because I've watched this replay several times. But watch, they're going to pause it at 4.7. It went to 4.6 and then back up to 4.7. Did you see that? Let's watch this one more time. Do you see that? So he just tied the score at 74-74, and they put the clock at 4.7. The reason this is so important is because I have been talking about this in pro sports, basketball, football, and more, about how the powers that be who script these games, the numbers are of great significance, and they do these kind of manipulations with the game clock to hit the numbers of significance. If you're new to my channel, since the first video, I've talked about the significance of the numbers 26, 33, 47, 74. I said if you're going to learn any numbers and pay attention to those numbers in scripting, keep those four in mind. Here we get a score of 74-74. The score isn't updated yet, with 4.7 left, and the shot clock was purposefully manipulated to make it 4.7. This is interesting because Villanova is a Catholic school, which has Christian connections. The word Jesus equals 74. The word cross equals 74. The word Messiah equals 74. The word gospel equals 74. The word Christian equals 47. The reflection is 74. Jesus and cross, 74. Christian, 47. The Christian Catholic school ended up winning the game. And in my preview video that I made just before it, again, I emphasized the significance of these numbers and how ESPN was coding them into their pre-game hype. This is the kind of stuff I want you to see. As I've said from the beginning, predicting is not the same as revealing that sports are scripted. I have revealed that sports are scripted, by the numbers beyond a shadow of a doubt. Anyone who cannot see that is blind in every sense of the word. Just because my predictions don't always land doesn't mean that the games aren't rigged. Decoding, predicting, that's another art in itself. And there is a reason North Carolina was in this championship game. Remember, as I said, North Carolina in their 106th year of their basketball program, the number of prophecy. Last year, May 12th, the Philadelphia train wreck, they said the train was going 106 miles per hour. This year, the train wreck in Kansas, in Garden City, which has gematria of 106. Then we get another train wreck in Philadelphia the day before this game. These numbers, they have meaning, and there's a reason the powers that be do this. The reason 74-74 with 4.7, we know why. And so that leaves the question remaining. How do we get the shot in? I mean, Marcus Page threw up a miracle shot, a real prayer that went in. Well, there's people out there, and I used to disagree with them, but from documenting what I've been documenting and watching and seeing what I see with my own eyes, I'm starting to think those people are right. And those are the people who say that there are magnets in the rim and magnets in the ball. There's a lot of these miracle shots by the numbers. You know? Either that or there's something going on a higher level that's beyond my comprehension. But magnets in the ball, it's not so far out there when you consider that these people are rigging the sports, and that would give them a major extra advantage and layer of control. You know, you put the ball close enough to the rim, magnets will pull it through. It's very possible. All right, so now let's move on. CNN's story about this was called The Epic Final Seconds, and what I noticed about this headline is the gematria. 187, the homicide code, I'll talk about why that's interesting in a second, and also 88. Tar Heels equals 88, a lot lined up for the Tar Heels. They ended up being the final sacrifice for Villanova, and I had to laugh before the game. I caught this on ESPN, scrolling at the bottom of the screen. University of North Carolina Tar Heels averaging 88 points per game in this year's tournament. That was just minutes before the championship began. Tar Heels equals 88. These games are scripted to the point. I can't emphasize it enough. We're going to talk about the 74-77 finish coming up. Stay with me. Remember, in my prediction video, I thought that North Carolina would defeat Kansas in the championship. Villanova knocked out Kansas. Kansas's head coach was Bill Self. Bill Self suffered his 187th loss as a coach of Kansas against Villanova. Notice Villanova knocked out the two teams that I predicted would be in the championship and the one to win it. And, you know, had I realized in the beginning that Villanova was next to Philadelphia, something I forgot, something that I omitted, I might very well have picked them to win the championship. Because in that same preview video, I talked about the significance of the Philadelphia train wreck, what that meant for the Warriors. Villanova in gematria equals the same thing as Golden State Warriors. So major parallels here. And just like I was talking about last year, connections between college basketball, the NBA. Just like I was talking about earlier, connections between college football and the Super Bowl. I got both my college football picks right. I know more about pro football than I do basketball. I guaranteed Alabama would win the championship. I guaranteed the Broncos would win the Super Bowl. Here in basketball, which I didn't follow, in a night's work, I got real close to predicting the championship right. I wish I'd put in more time now. I wish I'd caught the Villanova thing, but hindsight's 2020. Still, you should be taking away how these games are scripted, learning this knowledge, and using your own brain. Those of you who have more knowledge about the sports, you can go further with this work, I assure you. So what else was interesting? At the end of the first half, I noticed this. A timeout was taken right at a minute 52. Not by coincidence. The original over-under for the game was 152 points. By game time, it dropped down to 149.5. Anyhow, 152 was significant. Pennsylvania in gematria equals 152, where Villanova's from. Also, Villanova's in their 36th year of being in the tournament. 2016 has numerology of 36. When you write out 36, it also sums to 152. Villanova from Pennsylvania took it in their 36th year. And these kind of things along the way were subtle tributes. Last year, the Duke Blue Devils won it, 152. I predicted last year that the Blue Devils would win. I got it last year. I missed this year. Duke Blue Devils equals 152. How did I pick last year? Also off of a disaster story in the news. Plane wreck, hoax, just like the train crashes have been hoaxes. For those of you who are new here, I know that might sound insane, but this is what's really going on in the world. The powers that be are contriving news as riddles, and they use these riddles for future news stories as well as for sports. The pilot of the Germanwings crash last year that was a hoax during the tournament was Andreas Lubitz, which had gematria that sank up with Duke Blue Devils. Plus, if you researched where he crashed in the Alps, there's a history of a climbing group called the Blue Devils. So anyway, this year the Philadelphia train wreck, and look who wins, the Philadelphia team. I should have known better. But again, hindsight's 2020. Also, that timeout was taken when North Carolina had 34, Villanova had 30, Tar Heels equals 34. The sum of the game was 64 points. March Madness equals 64. Villanova Wildcats equals 64. A lot of tributes there. And this is what I mean when the games are scripted by the points as they go along. When you're aware of the numbers and what they mean, you see how these games are pieced together. Like a theater act, like a movie, like an ongoing story. So at halftime, there were some major North Carolina tributes. The score at halftime was 39-34. 39 stands out. Charlotte, I should mention that Charlotte in North Carolina has gematria of 39. Think about the Charlotte Bobcats, where Jordan now is, where he once played in North Carolina. The word tar, as in Tar Heels, has gematria of 39. Dean Smith has gematria of 39. He died last year, February 7th, 2015, a year before the Panthers lost in the Super Bowl. NRG, the stadium it was in, also gematria of 39. The total sum of the game was 73 points. Carolina equals 73. Villanova had 34. Tar Heels equals 34. Like I said from the beginning, there were so many tributes and numbers to North Carolina, but this has gotten me before where I predicted almost correctly. Sometimes all the major tributes seem to be for the team that will get sacrificed. And if you're looking at this as a metaphor, North Carolina sacrificed for Villanova's scripted win. Something I caught that was comical in the game is when the score was 43-40 in the second half, the announcement team said, "We have Michael Jordan for a quick interview." So they made it seem like they were interviewing Michael Jordan at this exact moment. Notice that the total sum of the game is 83 points. 83 is the 23rd prime. Jordan wore 23 at North Carolina and with the Chicago Bulls. North Carolina entered this game winning in the Final Four with 83 points over Syracuse. So they acted like it was live when they went to Jordan, and you can't make this out too well because my, what do you call this, closed captioning blocked it out. See if I can zoom this in. If you have really good eyes, you can make this out. It's North Carolina, and you can see that the top of the score is 39. So this interview was done at halftime when the score was 39-34, but for some reason they acted like it was live going to Jordan. It wasn't. It was pre-recorded, but they made it seem like it was live. So anyway, they went to Jordan, they interviewed him. This is just how important these numbers are to these people. This is the point I am trying to get in. There was also 43 seconds on the clock. Tar Heels with the S exception equals 43. They had 43 points at that moment. Jordan, a former Tar Heel. It's just ridiculous when you recognize what's going on. You see how obsessed these people are with numbers. Even making it seem like the interview's live when it's not. You know? Hopefully the point's making it home. Jordan now works with the Charlotte Bobcats. Charlotte with the 39 gematria. They interviewed him at halftime while North Carolina had 39 points. So anyway, as I was watching the game, I started to get this feeling early on that North Carolina was going to lose. And where the feeling initially came from was the likes of Michael Jordan, Antoine Jameson, and the other Tar Heels they showed in the stands throughout the game. There were many Tar Heels there, and every time the camera went to them, they all looked disgruntled. They looked unhappy. Jordan looked like he didn't even want to be there. And it makes me think, they know what the outcome is, and it's almost like a public shaming, a public humiliation ritual. The other thing that I noticed as the game went on is every call went in Villanova's favor. And I don't think anybody will deny this. I'm not a fan of Villanova. I'm not a fan of North Carolina. I'm not trying to make the excuse to justify my pick. You know, the games are scripted. The officials are going to help the team that the game's scripted for. And all night, every call went Villanova's way. One of the best examples is when the North Carolina big man, Meeks, dove for a loose ball, and so did the Villanova player. They both dove for the loose ball on the ground. Meeks got there first, recovered it. Because they both dove, their momentum, their body hit, it should have been a no foul. You know, it's a loose ball. It's two guys hustling for it. Meeks gets it, and what's the ref do? He blows his whistle and calls a foul on Meeks. And I have to say that Meeks all night got horrible calls against him. And, you know, Meeks is the biggest guy on the court. Not the tallest, but he's one of the tallest and a massive body. A lot for Villanova to deal with. They got him in foul trouble. He wasn't on the court as much as he should have been. And he got chippy fouls against him all night, such as the loose ball foul that, you know, I just love to talk to the ref. And I'd love to hear this ref explain why he called that a foul. For the record, truth seeker, I grew up playing basketball, and I used to officiate basketball. When I was in high school, I even officiated basketball. Pays well. But anyway, I know how to officiate. I know how the game should be called. You know, just watching this stuff, you just see through the nonsense if you have the knowledge. Calling a loose ball, clean pickup, a foul, it's a joke. Nobody could watch that and say, oh yeah, that was a foul. Anyhow, when I knew it was officially over before the game was even over is when they announced that Villanova's star player, who I've been talking about, the birthday boy when they upset Kansas, they announced that it was his 144th game, a record. And if you haven't been following my work, I've been talking about how significant 44 and 144 are all tournament. I had no idea this would be his 144th game. He's a senior. This was his last game, his 144th, and the scripted win. He broke the school record of 139. Freemasonry equals 139. We're going to talk about the big Freemason connections for Villanova this year specifically. Also, this guy, his birth name, I still can't pronounce his last name. It's too crazy for me. Arcidiacono or something like that. Anyhow, his full name, Ryan Kieran Arcidiacono, sums to 108, just like Villanova. And to me, the crazy last name and all, it's just more evidence of these Manchurian athletes. Think about it, having the exact same name as the school, having his 144th game on April 4th in the fixed championship. As I continue to say, these scripted sports are planned out decades in advance. Villanova probably scripted to win before this kid was even born. Born to be Manchurian athlete. Also, again, Golden State Warriors equals 108 like Villanova. Big Smooth equals 108, the nickname of the guy who hit the game winner for Villanova. The name he goes by on the court has gematria of 78. Again, this was the 78th year of the college tournament. Marcus Page, who hit the tying shot, 74-74 with 4.7. I picked him in my preview video to be the MVP of the tournament. His name in gematria also sums to 78. The 2 point guards for the two teams with the 78 gematria in the 78th year of the college tournament. Where do the coincidences end? I had to laugh coming into the game. They said that Ryan was shooting 58% from three-point land. Freemasonry also equals 58 the small way. His birth numerology, very interesting, 142. 142 stands out because University of North Carolina equals 142, who he defeated in his 144th game. Life lesson number of 52, Nova equals 52, Pope equals 52. The Pope connected to the train wrecks, connected to now the Golden State and Nova championships. Birth numerology of 34, Tar Heels equals 34. Also 123, like Conspiracy, which was the sum of the points in the game where they defeated Kansas 64-59. Again, March Madness equals 64. Villanova Wildcats equals 64. Kansas Jayhawks equals 64. Scripted to the point. Can't say it enough. So now let's go over the guy who hit the game winner. Villanova inbounded the ball 74-74 with 4.7. We know how the 4.7 was on the clock. Marcus Taylor Page had just hit the miracle three, going 4 of 7 from three-point land. Amazing. So anyway, they come down, they hit this three, they win it 77-74. And here's what stands out about that to me. Jesus equals 74. Like cross, like Messiah, like gospel. All of these words with 74 gematria. In the United States, only one state has a gematria of 74. Oregon, the 33rd state. 74 and 33 often paired. North Carolina finished their season with 33 wins. They came into the game with 33 wins and lost, just like Kansas came into their game against Villanova with 33 wins and lost. 33, often a number of sacrifice. This time they got sacrificed to the Catholic Church, the CC, the 33. Anyhow, Christ equals 77. 74, 77, Jesus Christ, Catholic school, a sum of 151 points, which also reminds me of the Carolina Panthers, who had a 15-1 season. Ron Rivera, the coach of the Panthers, was on the Bears that went 15-1 in 1985 and won the Super Bowl 46-10 over the Patriots with the revolutionary 4-6 defense. Chicago equals 46. This year was the 46th Super Bowl of the modern era. Ron Rivera didn't win this time around. He lost to the Broncos. Also, with regards to 77, which Villanova won, I talked about this the day before. This headline, Amtrak train derails, which I said was connected to the game and its outcome. Amtrak train derails equals 77. Villanova's located in Radnor Township, which also has gematria of 77. How about that? Villanova and Radnor Township wins with 77 points. Scripted. Again, this was the 36th edition of the tournament. Villanova from Pennsylvania, 152 gematria. The original over-under for the game was 152 points. They shifted it at game time down to 149.5. The winning three-pointer took the over-under from 148 to 151. So everyone in Vegas that at the under lost. Ended up going to the over, 151 over 149.5. Vegas always wins because they control the show. They have the rigged games, the rigged outcomes. It's possible that there was a script for both of these teams to win, and based on how betting went, Vegas shifted it in one team's favor. That's a possibility. But really, what I think is it was scripted for Villanova, and I should have seen it, especially with the train wrecks. So anyhow, the guy who hit the game winner, who made it 77 points, the brother of Britt on North Carolina, he played his Catholic school, and now he plays at a Catholic college. Check this out. His name, Chris Jenkins, in gematria. Very interesting. Chris has gematria of 39. He hit the big winner in NRG Stadium, which equals 39. Villanova went to the Final Four in 39, the first year of the men's tournament. Jenkins also has gematria of 46. March Madness, the small way, equals 46. His name together, Chris Jenkins, gematria of 49. The number of Revelation, the name Philadelphia comes from Revelation. Also, 67, another number connected to Revelation, as well as 85. Basketball equals 85. Villanova won its only championship in 85 until last night. They're now 2-1 in championships. They also lost in 71, which we'll get to. Chris Jenkins in simple English gematria, Chris is 57. Remember, 57 connects to championship. His whole name sums to 139, and the name Jenkins has gematria of 82. 82. The NBA has an 82-game schedule. Chris Jenkins likely on his way to the NBA. At halftime, Jordan talked about his game winner for North Carolina and how that made him a bigger superstar than he could have ever imagined. Will Chris Jenkins have a similar future in the NBA? That's a question now I'm asking, something to look out for. His end that defeated North Carolina, similar to Jordan's end in the 82 championship that they won over Georgetown. Chris Jenkins has the birth numerology at 26, one of those special numbers I say to look out for, the God number. He played at Gonzaga High School, Gonzaga, a Catholic school, gematria of 35, just like Catholic. Last night, Villanova earned their 35th win on the season, something I said to look for in the preview video. I said if I'm wrong and Villanova wins, Villanova will earn their 35th win. Quite fitting for being a Catholic school. And I also pointed out Gonzaga, the team out of Spokane, Washington, the Catholic basketball team, in their first game where they upset their opponent in this year's tournament, in the first half they scored 35 points. Gonzaga 35, Catholic 35, major Catholic theming all tournament. They call Chris Jenkins Big Smooth. Big Smooth in gematria equals 108 like Villanova. In the small way, 45. Remember, 45 years ago, in 1971, Villanova lost to UCLA. UCLA, the team that's won the most college basketball championships, who also wears the baby blue like North Carolina. They avenged that loss last night, 45. Backhoe equals 45. The train wreck the day before was caused by a backhoe. Also, they lost in 71. 71, the small way, sums to 45. Remember, Catholic equals 71. It's interesting that they lost in 71, seeing as how they were a Catholic school. You think the Catholic school would win in 71, but they lost that year. That's what makes predicting a little bit more challenging, because it's not always, direct correlation. There's other synchronicities going on. There's a lot to take into account when you're predicting. So what's easiest to take away from this research is to see how it's scripted and why. But to make the predictions, it's another art. Can't say it enough. Catholic 71 and 35. Again, they get their 35th win last night, avenging their loss in 71, 45 years ago. There they are holding up the sign. A Big Smooth, Reggie Miller, three-point specialist, once thought of as the greatest three-point shooter possibly ever. And doesn't Reggie Miller remind you in the face a little bit of Steph Curry? I always think about that. Talk about these Manchurian athletes. Where are they really coming from? Again, 71-44 April 4th. All this 144 connection. Villanova's star player, their point guard in his 144th game. Yesterday had 44 numerology in addition to being April 4th. Villanova was coming off a 95-point win, winning by 44-point margin. Yesterday, April 4th, because it was a leap year, was the 95th day of the year. I guess it was spelled out in their win over Oklahoma. You know, Oklahoma equals 31. Villanova winning the championship 31 years after 85. Basketball the small way equals 22 and 31. 85 the big way. See how it all comes together? Another thing that happened where I thought it might be over is the game was tied at 44-44, and I loved how they were inbounding at 14 minutes and 4 seconds, kind of like 144. I was thinking at this point, okay, whoever scores the next point is probably going to win the game. And who scored the next point? Villanova did. Villanova took the lead 46-44. It was the first time they'd taken the lead in some time. Remember, March Madness the small way equals 46. Advancing over North Carolina and Kansas, who both came in with 33 wins. Also, something I noticed, throughout the game, they kept showing the Villanova fans at the pavilion. You know, I'm sure something similar was going on at North Carolina, but they didn't show that venue. They just kept showing the pavilion over and over and over. And I noticed that pavilion had gematria 44, big number on the game. And also the big way, the pavilion equals 131, like championship. So these are things to look for in the future. When you see them keep showing one site all throughout the game, you know, these are the subtle clues put before our eyes. It was like the media was cheering for Villanova, cluing us in. And something I also talked about in my preview video is this. Pope equals 52, Nova equals 52. This past year, the Pope visited the United States the first time since 1979. He left the United States on September 27th from Philadelphia. He departed, leaving Philadelphia on September 27th, which is the Jesuit order's birthday, and Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope. From the day he left until the date of the championship was a span of 191 days. The Society of Jesus, which is the other name for the Jesuit order, equals 191. We get this score, 74-77, corresponding with Jesus Christ. Also, Pope Francis equals 404. Amtrak crash equals 404. In simple English gematria, Pope Francis equals 122. Train wreck equals 122. Golden State equals 122. There's other connections here, but a lot of synchronicities between the train wrecks, the Catholic Church, and what's going on in the world of basketball. And if you're not aware, Catholic high schools, Jesuit high schools are always some of the best Catholic or some of the best basketball programs in the nation. So there's very much a tie between Catholicism and basketball. I caught this article after the game. The father of Britt and Jenkins, the brothers on North Carolina and Villanova, the father had this to say. Father of brothers facing off in NCAA finals says family has already won. And already won has gematria 46, just like March Madness. And the big way, March Madness and already won also sums to 118. And remember, North Carolina was playing for their 118th win ever in the college tournament, which is initially one of the reasons I thought they'd win the tournament, that they'd get their 118th win in the championship. Instead, Villanova got their 57th win ever in the tournament, which also connects with championship. The brothers were Nate Britt and Jenkins, Big Smooth, who hit the game winner. Nate Britt has gematria of 37 like Carolina. Again, these Manchurian athletes. His birth numerology, January 13th, 94, a date with 108 numerology, which connects to Villanova as well as his brother, Big Smooth. This date, 13/1, in most parts of the world is also written January 13th is written 13/1 in most parts of the world. Remember, 131 connects to championship as well. Maybe even in this brother's name, the championship was coded for Villanova, despite him playing for North Carolina. It went to the brother in the city of brotherly love. I can't emphasize it enough. He also has birth numerology of 37, like his name, corresponding with Carolina. So also interesting, like I said in the beginning, the last time a buzzer beater happened in the college championship, North Carolina State University defeated Houston 33 years ago. Interesting that UNC loses in Houston, a place a North Carolina team has lost in a championship before. The man who hit that shot was named Lorenzo Charles. He died recently in history on June 27th, 2011, a date with 44 numerology and 64, which is creepy. We'll get to that. But I noticed he went by the nickname Low Charles, which has gematria of 39. Last night's game was an NRG, which has gematria of 39, NRG Stadium. His full name has gematria of 98, the number that has to do with prophecy. Prophet equals 98. A lot of prophecy on the game last night. Low Charles also has gematria of 93. Talked about 39, 93, the connections to North Carolina. After the game, I also found out how the number connects to Villanova, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So interesting names on him, numbers on him. As I so often say, these players are sacrificed later in life in ritualistic fashion. He was born November 25th, 1963, a date with 118 numerology. Again, like March Madness, this guy who has this memorable shot in tournament history. The date he died was a date with 64 numerology. March Madness equals 64. Villanova Wildcats equals 64. Also a date with 44 numerology. The word kill equals 44, a number that often shows up around death, and also a big number on this year's tournament. And this year's tournament might very well be connected to a future news story in the not so distant future. Sports are often synced up with the other events going on in the world, the way the powers that be structure it. Also 627, a date with 33 numerology. That shot 33 years ago in the tournament. Deja vu. R.I.P. Low Charles, likely murdered by this same gang that kills so many athletes by the numbers, so many entertainers. Again, North Carolina went down last night in NRG Stadium, a football stadium. In the past year, we've now seen 2 Carolina football teams lose in championships, the college championship and the Super Bowl, and now the basketball team go down in the championship, played in a football stadium. When the Carolina Panthers lost to the New England Patriots, it was Super Bowl 38. Panthers has gematria of 38. They lost to the New England Patriots February 1st, 2004. New England has gematria of 45. New England also won the 45th Super Bowl of the modern era, which was also Super Bowl 49. Anyhow, this 45 theme showed up. Again, last night the Tar Heels went down to Villanova, who avenged their loss from 45 years ago. You see? 2 North Carolina teams going down in this stadium with the number 45 riding on the game. It's interesting how in this photo that Wikipedia captures, the only numbers you can make out on the New England players clearly are 12 and 33. 12 plus 33, 45. Is that a coincidence? Wikipedia loves to do that with their imagery. Wikipedia equals 51, a number connected to Freemason and conspiracy. Wikipedia is always coding out if you're aware of the numbers. New England, 45, defeated the Carolina team at NRG Stadium. Now 12 years later, same thing for the basketball team. Also should point out that Houston, Texas, where the game happened last night, gematria of 46 and 64, just like March Madness. Remember, the game started last night at 6:19 Pacific Standard Time, 9:19 Eastern Standard Time, and 1:19 Universal Standard Time, the 79th minute of the day. And the powers that be, the bosses of this Masonic, Jesuit, Zionist network, they are an international outfit, and Universal Standard Time is very important to them. The word champion equals 79. When this game ended last night, it was April 5th, Universal Standard Time, 4/5, also a date with 45 numerology. Universal Standard Time. Remember, all-seeing eye equals 119. Star of David equals 119. Very special numbers. This is why the game began when it did. The numbers of so much significance to this game. So last up is the coach of Villanova. Pointed this out numerous times in my preview videos showing the synchronicity with the coach in this Villanova season. It's Villanova's 96th year as a basketball program. They're in their 36th year of being in the tournament in 2016. And the coach's name in gematria equals 96. They're in the Big East. I should mention that the word East has gematria 45. So notice, they got their 57th win last night. They're at 57 wins and 35 losses all time. They also got their 35th win of the regular season. Remember, Catholic equals 35. So look at this. World Series in gematria equals 57. Again, this year, 57 days after the World Series, Dave Henderson died at age 57, who played at the end of his career for the Kansas City Royals, who won the World Series. He also played for the Boston Red Sox against the Mets. The Mets and Royals was the last World Series. The name Henderson in gematria equals 57. Dead at 57, 57 days after the World Series. Sacrificing of athletes by the numbers. When you write out 57, it equals 131. When you write out Super Bowl, it equals 131. When you write out championship, it equals 131. If you missed my Super Bowl work, I showed the ESPN story from earlier this year that was a comedy riot. 57 kids in Indiana named after Peyton Manning, and the story was 1 minute, 31 seconds long. This is all when I was saying that everything was scripted for the Broncos to win the Super Bowl. Also, Villanova, they're in their 96th year of a basketball program. The school was established in 1842, emphasis on 42. Freemason, the big way, is 96, the small way, 42. Villanova had some Freemason alignment this year. The name of the coach, Jay Wright, born Gerald Taylor Wright, a name with 96 gematria. And if you throw on the junior, it equals 106, the number of prophecy. They just knocked off North Carolina in their 106th year of having a basketball program. Jay Wright also equals 49, like Revelation. The name Philadelphia comes from Revelation. Gerald equals 64, like Villanova Wildcats, like March Madness. J equals 36, 36th year of being in the tournament. 2016 is 20 plus 16 equals 36. When you add up every number 1 through 36, it adds to 666, 666. The word prophecy in Jewish gematria equals 666, and simple English gematria 106. So the prophecy numbers were with Villanova, with North Carolina. This is why these teams met. And in the end, it went in favor of Villanova from Philadelphia, which I should have thought about deeper, because Revelation, where the name Philadelphia comes from, means prophecy. You know, prophecy has a lot to do with the city of Philadelphia, with the train wrecks, and what was coded in. Hindsight's 2020. Jay Wright also equals 121, like Revelation the big way. In his win, he tied former coach Raleigh Massimino, who was at the game. All game, his face looked bewildered too. Anyhow, the camera went to Raleigh a lot, who was in the stands. With Jay's win last night, he tied the former coach as Villanova coach in NCAA tournament. Both have 11 appearances now. Both have 20-10 records. And they won national titles 31 years apart. Basketball the big way, 85. The small way, 22-31. 31-year separation. 85 is the year that the tournament went to 64 teams. Villanova Wildcats, 64. And check out his name, Raleigh Massimino. Raleigh equals 35 like Catholic. Massimino equals 40 and 58. Basketball equals 40. Freemasonry equals 58. Raleigh Massimino equals 75 and 93. The former coach had the 93 connection. I thought that the game was going to be a tribute to Dean Smith. And I think in a way it still was. Dean Smith died on a date with 44 numerology on the same date that the Carolina Panthers went down in the Super Bowl. I guess when you think about it, it's all sacrifice. A man getting sacrificed, sports teams getting sacrificed. Anyhow, Raleigh in simple English gematria equals 71 like Catholic the big way, and Massimino equals 112 like Houston, where the championship was, where he watched Jay Wright tie his legacy. Next year, Jay Wright will have a chance to improve upon it. So that pretty much covers it, Truth Seeker. You know, for those of you who lost money betting, this is what I want to say. There's a reason I don't gamble. There's multiple reasons I don't gamble. I don't like gambling. I don't like money. When I win, it doesn't make me feel happy. When I lose, it makes me feel really angry. And when I was 13, I learned a life lesson about gambling. I had a buddy. We played a lot of sports together. Baseball, basketball, tennis. I was always a little bit better than him at these games. And we grew up with each other. We played a lot. One day we were playing tennis. And, you know, he was talking a lot of trash. You know, he thought all of a sudden his tennis game was better than mine. So I said to him, I said, you think you're better than me at tennis? I'll make a bet. I'll bet that we play a full set and you don't score a single point. And if you don't know the way tennis works, the scoring's like this. A point is worth 15. So if you score, you go up 15 love. If you score again, you go up 30 love. If you score again, you go up 40 love. If you score again, you go up 60 love. You win the game. You have to win 6 games to win a set. So to win a whole set without letting another person score a point, you'd have to score essentially 24 straight points. So I bet this person, and I meant it. We both had paper routes. We both made money. We both had bicycles. I said, I'll bet you I beat you in a set and you don't score a point. If I'm wrong, you get my bicycle. If I'm right, I get your bicycle. And he had a nicer bicycle. He had wealthier parents than me. So he said, okay, I'll take that bet. Well, lo and behold, I swept him. He didn't score a point. I won the whole set. And we were friends, right? He actually started to cry after I beat him, and he rode off on his bicycle. He rode home. And I don't think I tried to talk to him the rest of the day, but the next day I tried to talk to him, and I was kind of an asshole. I said, hey, man, you owe me your bicycle. And he pretty much said, F you. Anyway, long story short, him and I were never as good of friends again, and I never got his bicycle, and after a while I realized I didn't want his bicycle. It made me feel like even more of an asshole. But the point is, betting, I just don't like it. It's never been good for me. I don't like when I win. I hate when I lose. So for those of you who bet, you know, recognize what you're doing. I have a lot of people yelling at me because they bet on North Carolina. You know, I've never said trust my advice. Take my knowledge, use your own brain, improve on my research. It still has a ways to go. There's a reason North Carolina made it to the big game. There's a reason they lost to Villanova. And if you go back and watch my preview video, pretty much the whole truth's in there. I talk about the Philadelphia train wreck, how it's connected to the Kansas train wreck, how it foreshadows who's going to win. I just overlooked Villanova from the beginning. That's as simple as I can say it, you know? I didn't mislead anybody on purpose. Everyone who didn't bet, whether they, you know, enjoy basketball or not, if they watch this game, if they've been watching sports with what I've been sharing, they see how it's truly rigged, how it's truly scripted, it's undeniable. There's still things to find out. There's still mysteries, such as how did this miracle shot go in, you know? Best way I can explain it is magnets. Either that or divine intervention that's in the hands of the powers that be. But the numbers, undeniable, and sports being scripted by them, undeniable. The word epic equals 33. North Carolina went down with their 33rd win just as Kansas did. The number is sacrifice. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time.